What's going on, guys? Way from Revolution here. So if you've been ever followed me on Instagram, I think you know that I'm a Sybarite. And there are many things that I love. Obviously, I love dachshunds, I love motorcycles, but I love particularly watches, and I love food and wine, of course. And today I have the extraordinary pleasure of interviewing a chef, Mr. Sebastien Lepinoy, who is one of the three Michelin Star chefs here in Singapore, and actually helms one of my favorite restaurants in the world, named Les Amis. So, Chef, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much to invite me to your show. I'm very glad to be with you today.
I have to say, so we had my mother's birthday here a couple of weeks ago, and it was wonderful to see, you know, my mother comes in and she's quite demanding as a client, or even as a mother, actually. and it was quite interesting to see her transformation from, oh, I'm happy to be here, of course, it's so charming to be with my family, to being ecstatic and being overjoyed and being so enchanted with what you did. And you brought out some of the most amazing dishes. And at the end of it, she was, you know, my mother almost never drinks. And I think that evening or that afternoon, she drank quite a bit of wine, quite a bit of champagne, and she was transported. So for me, please tell me in your words, what is the power of food to affect someone's mood?
And the power of the food is to give happiness. This is more important for us. You know, for us, we sell happiness. In the same time that we sell food, we sell also happiness, because when the people come here, it's very important for them. We must to let them travel in France, particularly because, of course, I represent the French cuisine. I'm a 3-star in the category French Classic, and for me it's very important when a customer comes to Les Amis, they must to feel like they are in Paris. And actually, with this period of COVID-19 where nobody can travel, it's very important, and it's I must to work even more harder to let them travel in Paris.
No, but you know what? You say something very interesting also, because you're a 3 Michelin star chef of classic cuisine, you know? And I think what I love about you and your restaurant in Les Amis is that you have food at the very highest level, but you also have a warmth, which I associate with being Asian, you know? And I know that you lived for a long time in Hong Kong as well. And, you know, when I think about the grand hotels in Asia, like the Mandarin Oriental, or those hotels where people have such extraordinary warmth towards you, I get that at Les Amis. You know, people are so sweet to you and so kind to you. And at the same time, you have this extraordinary food. But one thing I want to ask you about is this. For me, I'm so happy that classic food is back, because we went through a whole period where it was full of molecular gastronomy and full of smoke and fireworks. And I went to all these restaurants, and they were impressive technically, but to me, they weren't delicious. For you, does food have to be comforting?
You know, in fact, like Paul Bocuse said, they have no bad food. They are just some different food. And also, we must to admit, maybe when we are more young, we are more adventurous. At the age of 30, 40, we may be looking for something more molecular or some modern. But at the moment that we are up to 40, we are back to our root. We are back to what we used to have when we are young, you know, and the classic always become at that moment. The restaurant Les Amis, I will say it, is not to everyone. Not everyone will maybe appreciate like you, because you must to have sometimes a certain experience to know what is a molecular, to appreciate this kind of food, because it's a food. The classic food is they maybe have not the wow factor that you can find when something smoked like 10 or 15 years ago. It was some smoke, some ice, some color.
Yes.
The classic cuisine is more about the flavor. Technique is about the flavor and the quality of the ingredients. And this, when the people have more experience, is what they are looking for.
You know, it's funny you say this, because I think people who are watch collectors, they go through this cycle as well.
Exactly.
You know, and they start off with, you know, of course, something very fundamental, and then they go into an experimental phase. And I think they find their way back somehow to things that have classical values and that have enduring values. I think in the context of 2020, which has been a very, you know, challenging year and an interesting year for a lot of people, I think people are searching in particular for authenticity. And I think that that's what's really represented by Les Amis and by yourself. Would you agree?
Yes, it's correct. And you know, we can see today how Les Amis work. You know, the restaurant is almost full, almost every day, and we have a demand for this. and people are very happy to have this classic cuisine back. And like you say, it's the same like for the watch also. You know, when you are more young, you want to have more watch, more adventurous, but at a certain age, you prefer to have a classic watch.
Totally agree. You know, let's talk about also when I eat one of your dishes, or I look at one of your dishes, because we kind of eat with our eyes and our smell first. I see a level of technical execution that's perfect, right? And I know this is also, it reminds me also of watches, of course, because, you know, for watches, technical execution is incredibly important. But I know that you studied, or one of your mentors was Jean Robuchon, you know?
Yes.
And you always hear these amazing stories about Jean Robuchon, about when he had his lobster salad. Every single dot of the sauce had to be perfectly placed and had to be the right number. And you know these stories about when a customer ordered one souffle, they made 3 souffles and chose the one that looked the best. You know.
Yes.
For you, is it important to have this level of perfection and this sense of this standard that you hold yourself to?
Of course, you know, at the level of 2 Michelin stars, we cannot have some up and some down. We must be very consistent. And to be consistent, yes, here also, example, last week you came and you have egg. You know, you have egg with a black truffle. The egg are cooked with a black truffle, and when we do this, you was 2, we cook 3. In case of one is break when we serve, we must have some security.
I had no idea. That's amazing.
It's the same like the souffle that you just say for Jean Robuchon. When I cook the egg, it's the same. We have always a security, and that's why sometimes the restaurant, the food cost is high, and we need a lot of manpower because everything is made by hand, and everything what we do, we must have a security.
Incredible.
Because we cannot deliver to the customer at the price that we sell, because we must admit we are not a cheap restaurant. We cannot be cheap because also I have 33 staff in the kitchen to pay.
Right.
And I buy the best ingredients. And on the side of this best ingredient, I must have some security for every dish that I send.
Amazing. So Chef Sebastien, let's talk a little bit about your history with the Michelin Awards, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was 2010 when you received your first Michelin star for this restaurant in Hong Kong called Chopard, which was also a collaboration with the Les Amis group, correct?
Correct. I received my first Michelin star in 2010 in Chopard. Chopard was a restaurant, a bit like a small Les Amis restaurant. It was the same design, but a smaller restaurant of only 30 seats.
Wonderful. So in 2013, you were overseeing Les Amis, but then you said to Desmond and to the people that are the financial backers of Les Amis, we have to enact some change and we have to invest. And if I'm not mistaken, you invested quite considerably into the technical infrastructure of the kitchen.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Alors, back to 2010, I do my first step in Les Amis group with the restaurant Chopard. Chopard was a very nice, a small restaurant with a 30-seater only, and we received 1 Michelin star. It was the beginning of my story with Michelin. 1 Michelin star, I was very happy, you know, because it was the first time I was chef on my own. And it was very interesting to receive immediately 1 Michelin star. It made me very happy. The feeling was very good to have 1 Michelin star. Of course, you always dream to have 2, even 3 one day. But to get your first Michelin star is something very personal, you know, it's some achievement.
Yes.
Then 2013, I moved to Singapore and I took back Les Amis. But at that moment, Les Amis has already almost 20 years. And the restaurant was a bit empty of customer and a bit old in terms of infrastructure regarding the kitchen particularly. And when I arrived, I immediately say to the owner, what I want to do is a French classic cuisine. So I go progressively because 2013, the restaurant was quite modern before. They do like you say, some fusion, molecular, a little bit. Donc I slowly start to change all the process for 1 year to become more classic, more French classic. Also, the restaurant was empty at that moment. Donc when I arrived, I break all the code. I said, we'll start a lunch menu at $45. Who was very cheap, was the more cheap in Singapore.
Incredible.
But my idea is, first, I must to fill the restaurant. Because Michelin or not Michelin, the more important we must to have, it's a business. We must to at least don't lose money.
Yes.
The objective was not to make money, but to stabilize the restaurant who was losing money in the past.
Right.
Donc this was the first thing. And to do this, we must to fill the restaurant. It was not in my mind to start a menu at $300, very expensive. It was, we'll do cheap and we'll fill the restaurant. It will be our best marketing.
Amazing. That's brilliant, actually.
Yes, this was my first idea.
Right.
Okay, from 2013 to late 2014. After that, early 2015, we start a major renovation, particularly in the kitchen, because at that moment, I already heard that the Michelin, perhaps, they will come in Singapore.
Right.
Donc I immediately say to the owner, if Les Amis want to be in the competition, we must immediately get 2 Michelin stars. One, like in Cepage, it will not be enough. That's why we decide, and with a good budget, because during all 2014 the restaurant was positive, making money, was full, you know, like it was good sign. After we say now we must to go up to the level,
Exactly.
step by step. Donc we did first renovation. After we planned, we said now the target will be 2 Michelin stars if the Michelin come to Singapore. Few months later, and it was November 2015 exactly, the Michelin officially announced they will come in Singapore.
Wow.
Donc we say, okay, now we have the kitchen, we have the restaurant. Everything was not ready because you know to plan for the Michelin star you need a lot of months. But we start to change already all the menus. Unfortunately, the price also increased, but it is normal.
But it was still reasonable. I mean,
It was still
for
very
me, lunch
reasonable.
here is still one of the best
Yes,
deals
yes,
around,
yes.
you know?
Because
Yeah.
my target was 2 Michelin star, and July 2016, 2 Michelin star arrived.
Right.
That means it was perfect. In fact, I will say to you, when you receive 2 Michelin star, is a more happy moment. It's better than 3.
Really?
It's better than 3. No, of course, 3 is a fantastic, it's phenomenal. But when you receive 3, first, in one day, we receive 1,700 email. You receive a WhatsApp. You have no time to celebrate. Trust me. I was here with Marissa, our marketing person. We work all the night just to prepare and to, because it was crazy. It was just crazy.
Incredible.
The owner, Desmond Lim also, his telephone was in a red zone as well. Everybody, you know, when you receive 3 stars from all around the world, you receive a call, the media call you, everybody want an interview, everybody want to congratulate you, and it just panic in board. It just a panic in board. And we was a little bit ready, but it was panic in board.
Of course.
Donc you have no time to celebrate. Huh?
Yes.
Trust me, no champagne, nothing when you receive 3 stars. When you get 2, it's fantastic.
It's funny, I think because you must be a fan of Star Wars, but I think you associated receiving
Exactly.
your first star as being told, okay, now you can be a Jedi.
A Jedi.
Second star is, okay, now you're Luke Skywalker. And then the third star, you're Yoda.
Master Yoda. Yes.
Okay, one question I would have for you, and then we should start talking about watches, is of course, when you receive 3 Michelin stars, do you ever feel like the additional pressure to maintain this perfection?
Honestly, no. Honestly, I have no pressure. I don't put pressure on me because I got this 3 star progressively. Like I said, the 3 star is start in 2010 in Cepage with 1 Michelin star, following by 2. And you know, during these times, I must admit, I did some mistake. Because you don't get 3 Michelin star so fast, so easily. You make some mistake, you learn from your mistake, you get 3 star. And after, since I have my 3 Michelin star, of course, I have some day with a pressure, but in general, I'm not under pressure. Also a reason why, because I'm always in the kitchen, I don't travel a lot. I'm always in the restaurant. I'm not someone who like to do some overseas demonstration. No. At the moment I'm always here, I control. When you are not in your restaurant, it's difficult to control and you have a pressure because you stress.
Yes, yes. Tell me, what is the one thing that you learned from 2010 when you received your first Michelin star at Chopard to 2019 when you received your third Michelin star? What is the most important lesson?
The more important is a business plan. Because without money, you cannot go to the top. At every step, if you start even from the big gourmand, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, you must make sure, first, before to think of the star, think about your business. Do a business that you don't lose money.
Of course.
Of course, I will say, Les Amis is not the restaurant that will make a lot of money, because every cent that we earn, we reinvest. But we don't want to lose money.
Of course.
And this was immediately in my mind when I start. The owner lets me run the restaurant like I want, but I don't want to lose money.
Yes.
Because if you lose money, you cannot reinvest.
Of course. But you must be super efficient then, because, or the way you've organized it must be really quite remarkable, because I know that you are very focused on the best produce from France. I also feel as if that if you come to Les Amis for lunch, and you have a 3-course meal, which I believe is like $155 or something like this. To me, this is not only one of the best deals in the world, but it's also one of the most delicious meals also. So how is it that you're able to offer something that's accessible, that's so well done, and that's still, you know, a good business for you?
Of course, our food cost is still very high compared to the European market or the US market. But in Singapore, and we are lucky, the manpower is still low. The taxes are also low. That means even if our food cost is high, we can manage to have a restaurant who make little bit money.
Yes, and don't forget, if you come here for that deal, you need to order wine also, because
Yes.
for a restaurant, wine business is very important.
The wine business is very important. Yes.
Absolutely.
The wine business represents 25% of the income of a restaurant.
It's funny that you're talking about 2014, and I think you made this massive reinvestment into the restaurant, but specifically into the kitchen, as I recall. And it's very interesting because around the late 90s, no, or actually the mid-90s, the owner of Chopard, Carl Friedrich Schäufele, had decided that he wanted to create in-house manufacturing for his watches. And in 1996, he unveiled his very first movement, which was the caliber 1.96, and it was groundbreaking in terms of how exquisite it was. And bear in mind, this was a time when no one was making in-house movements, you know. His movement, the 1.96 micro rotor, cost certified Geneva seal, was groundbreaking and won many awards. But he wanted to do this because he wanted Chopard to be authentic in every way. He wanted the movements to be authentic. He wanted every watch that he made to be filled with this sort of sense of authenticity. And I know that you are an ambassador for Chopard, and I think that this sort of shared value is a very strong one between the two of you. But tell me, what attracted you to Chopard, and how did this relationship come about?
Alors, first, Chopard, what I like in Chopard, it's very simple, a bit like my cuisine, you know. It's a classic, simple. More is simple, more is difficult to do.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I guess for the watch is the same also.
Yes.
Because more is simple, you know, when you see a watch, everything must be perfect, but looks so simple. Is what I like also is a Chopard. And of course, Chopard has a reputation. They use, example, the gold that they use is a, you know, very respectful gold. They don't buy the gold anywhere. It's they have many small details who are very, very nice from Chopard.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And we're both wearing Alpine Eagles today, and I've got the chronograph version of this that's just come out, and I really love both of these watches because the steel that they're using for these watches
Yes,
is called
it's very-
lucent steel.
Yeah.
And lucent steel is made from 70% recycled steel, which from an ethical perspective I think is great. And then also has a much more beautiful color. It's much more pure and white, and it handles polishing very well. And it's harder. It's 225 Vickers as opposed to
Yeah.
150 Vickers. But
You know, this is a new model. You
Yeah.
see, I never see before. It's so beautiful. Wow.
And you know, I love the Alpine Eagle also because it's a watch that, so its predecessor was born in 1980. So
Okay.
when Carl Friedrich Schäufele, he decided, he was a young man in Geneva, and he was a guy who loved sports, and he wanted to wear a watch that he could wear when he was skiing or you know, driving one of his cars, but also wear it to a beautiful dinner.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, for you also, as someone, I mean, a chef is a man of action who's in the kitchen, who's, you know, commanding his very impressive 30-person team, but it's a lot of action. So it's an interesting thing also because you've got a watch that needs to survive this, perform beautifully in this, and then when you come outside to greet guests, also look incredibly elegant. So would you say the Alpine Eagle kind of fits this
Exactly. I will talk about this, I don't know if I can say I cannot say any brand, but usually in the kitchen, many of the people use a Japanese, very resistant watch. I think you understand what I mean. And, and they have a reason why. Because in the kitchen, you open some oven with the steam come out,
Yes.
You must have a very, very resistant watch. And I'm very surprised, It's now almost 1 year I wear my watch every day. It's no problem at all.
Amazing.
Because I used to have before in the past few connected watch from very good brand also, but after 6 months usually they don't support the humidity. In the kitchen is hot, very humid. You have some temperature coming, some steam coming, and it's very difficult for a watch to survive. And I wear my watch every day, every service, and you can see, of course, if you look, you may be a little bit scratched,
Yeah.
but it's like new.
Yeah.
It's absolutely like new, and I wear every day. This is more important. They are very resistant, and then at the end of the service, when I go to see the customer, in a Michelin Star, all the customers are very special.
Yeah.
And it's very important. I must to have also a standard to represent myself. And when I go, first, many customers ask me also to try the watch. This
nice.
happens. And I must to be elegant outside of my kitchen and resistant inside my kitchen with the watch.
What's so impressive about the Alpine Eagle in both formats is because they're not small watches. 41 mm, quite a little bit larger for the chronograph, but they're so comfortable, right? And I find that to be remarkable because women are willing to suffer for beauty, but men are not.
Yes.
So anytime I've ever put on a pair of shoes that are uncomfortable, I'll walk straight back to my house or to my hotel room and change because I know I cannot survive like this. It's the same thing for a watch. If I have a watch that's uncomfortable in some ways,
You just put out for...
yeah, you look at it from time to time, but you're like, I'm not going to wear this the whole day. And especially for you, who's your day is so filled with activity. It's quite impressive how beautifully the watch integrates into the bracelet and how incredibly comfortable. Like every surface has been polished in the right way.
It's true. It's very easy to wear. This Chopard Alpine Eagle is really, really easy. When you wear, you don't feel anything. You don't feel uncomfortable. I used to have some other watch, where the mechanism sometimes is too heavy.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yes.
That's amazing. And for you, the Schäufele family they are people who are incredibly passionate about cuisine. I think that the dream would be one day for them to come here or for you to go there and spend some time with them. Carl Frederick also has a vineyard in Bordeaux.
Yes, I heard about this. Yes.
Exactly, and he's also a big fan of black truffles as well. So I had the pleasure of joining him there last year. And we went on a truffle hunt as well, which was wonderful. But he believes in something called artisans of passion.
Yeah.
And I think that this is something that you are a wonderful ambassador for. I mean, amazing chef with great authentic values and also a great ambassador for the brand. So Chef Sebastien, thank you so much, my friend. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the interview.
My pleasure.